What's up, everybody? I'm comedian Michael Halcomb, and in the house with me today, comedian Travis Lincoln. I'm super stoked about this. He's going to tell us how he got into comedy, give us some tips, and we're going to workshop some jokes. Stick around.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.
What's up, everybody? Comedian Michael Halcomb here, and I got Travis Lincoln with me. Travis, good to see you again, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you too, bro. Good to see you.
Yeah. So your website, I'm just going to throw that on right here, right at off the jump. And point people to your site. So we got the URL comediantlink.com. You even got your phone number up there, man.
Yeah. Definitely,
There you go.
definitely a Google number.
There you go. Good on you.
Can't put my real one up there, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So you guys head over there and you can follow him from there on Facebook or Insta. You can see his schedule, tickets, and testimonials, photos, all sorts of things. comediantlink.com. So go check that out. Pause the video, go check it out, come back and hit play again. But man, Travis, so where are you at, man? Tell us where you live and what you're up to.
Yeah, man. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. I've been here for about 10 years by way of Somerville, South Carolina, right outside of Charleston. So that's where I grew up. But yeah, my job sent me here and yeah, got bored and started comedy.
So what have you been doing vocation wise? You said your job sent you there.
So I work with homeless veterans or unsheltered veterans. And so that's what I do during the day. I was initially a case manager in Charleston, and then they had an opportunity to open a branch of our department here in Columbia. And so they moved me up to director and moved here and started a program here. And we've been going about 10 years strong, helping veterans find housing.
Oh, dude, that's amazing. Were you
Yeah.
yourself or you just
I
got it?
was not. Yeah, I kind of stumbled on this job. A friend told me about it, and it was paying more than what I was making at my other job. I was at the time a manager at social services. So yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll see what happens, man. And yeah, 12, 13 years later, here I am.
Is that a pretty fulfilling job, I imagine? I mean,
It's way more fulfilling than social services, I would say. Not a lot of bureaucracy involved with what I do on a day-to-day basis. Literally, they pay me money to help people, and so my job is to do that. And it's pretty easy, man. Pretty easy, but definitely fulfilling. Every day is pretty fulfilling. So
it seems like, I mean, it's I imagine you see some pretty heartbreaking things too, though. It's gotta be tough in some ways,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, I imagine it would be very rewarding and other. So how did you go from there to comedy? Like you said you got bored, but like what happened?
So essentially, about I would say 20 years ago, I guess you could say. I'm kind of old telling my age, but about 20 years ago, I went to an open mic, right? And I signed my name up because I always felt I could do it. And then they called my name, and I just acted like I wasn't there. Um, yeah, I punked out. I couldn't do it. It was only like 8 people in the building, so they knew it was me. And but I acted like I couldn't do it anyway. So yeah, it was like I don't know what they're talking about. Like,
That's great, dude.
yeah.
So
So
so you skipped out on that first one. That's kind of similar to mine. I called the place like I was ready to go and I just never went.
yeah,
But
yeah,
so you were
yeah.
actually in the
I
building.
showed up and then acted like I didn't show up. Yeah.
At
So it
least
was.
you got that far.
I did, and then I lied to I was married at the time, and the reason I didn't go up was mainly because I know how I am. Once I start something, Imma see it through, and I'm not gonna stop until I, do well at it, and at the time, I was, probably causing more headache than not with my ex-wife at the time, because I'm a musician. I was a basketball coach, I was a DJ, I was just doing so many things, and then
Mm,
adding that to the plate, knowing how hard I try to work at everything. I was like, you know what? She's not even. If I say I'm going to start comedy, like she'll probably just divorce me tomorrow. So, so yeah, I didn't go up, and then fast forward. About 15 years later, um, I decided I was like, hey, maybe I should give it a try. But actually, I didn't start out directly into the comedy world. I actually went in, not stand up, anyways. I joined a improv group.
right.
That was yeah, and so I joined the group kinda doing the singing part, like, so it was kind of a version of Wild Out,
Okay.
Wildin' Out,
Yeah.
and it was called Wild Out Columbia, and so they performed at the Comedy House, every month, and so they had a big platform. It always sold out pretty much every show, and so I was like, That looks interesting. I could do that. I'm pretty good at, on my feet as far as, being funny, and then, of course, the singing part adds a little, extra to it. So I got on there kind of as a singing guy, and creating parodies and different things of that nature. And we had to do a performance. And so since I was singing throughout the whole show, I was like, I mean, I don't want to bore them again and just keep singing all night. That's corny. So I was like, well, let me just do, a bit or something, a comedy bit or whatnot.
Mm,
And so I decided to go to an open mic to kind of work it out. I was going to do impressions, Barack Obama and Trump and all of that stuff. And yeah, I went to open mic, man, and it went way better than I could have ever expected it to.
wow.
Yeah, and then I got hooked like the first time. I
Right.
knew I knew this was something I should have been doing a long time ago. And
Mm.
yeah, I did great my first time and I bombed the second time. It was, you know, yeah, I was
A
like, okay, I
common
don't
story, right? Like a lot of people get up and just slay their first time, and the second time is just, yeah, like
yeah.
that's pretty common that happens.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know. But then, the one thing about me is that I love a challenge. So I was like, okay, all right. Next time I'm never gonna do this again. I'm never gonna bomb again. Obviously I didn't know what comedy was, but I figured that didn't work. It doesn't work like that. But the second time I did terribly. The third time I did okay, and then COVID hit. So now, like, I started in 2020, literally March of 2020. I started on January 6th of 2020, which is crazy. Yeah, and then I did it every week up until the middle of March 12th to be exact, and then everything shut down after that. And so I had a period where there was no comedy, and all I
right.
did was write and be funny on Facebook. And so that kind of helped me with my material because I was taking the just normal everyday comments and statements that I was making, I was turning them into bits. And
Mm,
so by the time everything started back up, and South Carolina didn't stay closed long at all. Because we didn't care about a COVID. Uh, like, nah. So we opened back up in like June, and
mm,
I was back on stage. I started my own open mic, and at a place that I used to DJ at, and I was friends with the owner. So I started back up. I started an open mic. Everybody was coming across the state because it was like one of the only mics open in the state. And so yeah, I kind of got a head start. So by the time the professionals got back around to performing, I was actually kind of finding my footing. So
nice.
it gave me a head start. And yeah, I knew then I loved it. I knew I wasn't gonna stop, even though I started at like 45 years old. It didn't, to me, I was like, if you're funny, you're funny. It is what it is. So,
Wow, dude, that's a great story. So you I was in Hawaii at the time, dude, and
oh, wow.
Hawaii shut down forever. Like,
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I can
that
imagine.
little island of Oahu out there, dude, it was, nobody was coming in, nobody was
Mm.
going out. It was on lock. But there's some good stuff about that too, because you could kind of get out every now and then, on a beach or something, and have
Mhm.
of a beach to yourself pretty much,
Yeah.
but well, that's pretty cool, man, how that worked out. So you've done the performing, obviously. You've
Mhm.
done social media. You've like produced as far as like putting a mic together. I'm
Mhm.
wondering. I like asking people this, man. Like comedians, like what? Like if somebody's watching this and they're thinking, man, I should give comedy a go, stand up comedy a go. Like what's maybe one or two good pieces of advice that you would throw their way?
Well, I'll tell them what a comedian told me. Like the person that kind of inspired me to do it. I was DJing at one of my cousin's birthday party, and a comedian by the name of Marvin Hunter performed. And he's you know pretty well known. He's well known on social media. Also, he did the Kevin Hart's Next Level. He did
Mm.
Heart of the City as well. And, he was so funny, man. Like, he had me in tears. I could barely DJ after he was done. And so, so yeah, I started following him, and then I was like, "You know what? Before I hit this stage, let me ask him what I could do, what I need to do or whatever." And he just told me these simple words. He's like, "Just hit the stage as much as possible. Nothing
Mm.
else." He kept it short. And he was right. Like, I definitely went hard in the paint really quickly and really early. I traveled as much as I could doing mics. Because Columbia's scene is pretty small. It's not a lot. Like here, we only had at the time that I did a mic, just one other mic, two other mics, and one was closing because of COVID. But it ended up just being my mic and another mic for a long time. And so yeah, we didn't have a lot of outlets. The comedy house eventually closed down some years later, so we didn't have a major club in my area. So I had to go to Charlotte to perform, or back home in Charleston, to perform as much as I could. And Greenville as well. I traveled to Greenville. So I was hitting all the mics every week. Um, at least 3 to 4 mics a week. The one thing about Greenville, their comedy zone, their open mic is a paid event. So when you go to the comedy zone there, like you're getting a paid audience. So I would go to a Monday mic here. My mic was on Tuesday. I go to two Tuesday mics here in Columbia. Wednesday I go to Rock Hill. Thursday I go to um, Greenville and perfect the material I was working on all week and do
Mm.
it in front of a paid crowd. So that gave me an idea of how funny I would be if I was literally, kind of on a stage. So it was very, very helpful.
'Cause there's a huge difference, and we've talked about that quite a bit on the podcast, right? And you're hinting at that here, like between just like a mic audience and like a non-paying audience and a paying
hmm
audience. Like
It's a
huge
big difference. Big
yeah.
difference. They come to laugh when they pay for it. Number one, so that gives you a little bit of, an advantage. But the other part is like you also get the other side of it. They're paying for somebody they may not know, and they may have expectations that you're not able to deliver. Like, so a lot of
Mhm.
times social media has curbed comedy to a point to where people think that it's a back and forth type of things. You're if you're not doing if you're not doing crowd work, then you might anger people in the audience because they because they are wanting you to talk to them and they want your attention, and they do things to get it, like yell out and blurt out in the middle of your
Yeah.
sets. You just got to be cognizant of that as well. You're definitely going to get more laughs if you're funny, but if you're not careful, you may be pigeonholed into this prism
Right.
that's been created by social media, thinking that every comic is a crowd work comedian. And I don't mind having back and forth a little bit. I don't like it when it's interrupting my material,
Yeah.
but I try to weave in and weave out as quickly as possible. But I'm a pretty big dude, so when I have to, I just tell people to shut up. You know? I don't, I'll give them a few minutes, and then I'll get to the point where I was like, "Oh, just shut up!" Like, now you're making me mad. Like,
Uh, I
so
don't have that 6'5'7" short, most unintimidating
yeah.
dude in the room.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Well,
definitely use my size to my advantage. But the crazy part is I'm not a fighter at all. I just it's not in my DNA. But people don't know that, so
Yeah, right. So hit the stage as much as possible. I mean, you were grinding. I assume you're still grinding to some degree because,
yeah.
I see you posting on social that you're doing this and that, and that grind never really stops.
Nah, not at all. Not until you make it to what I guess you can consider your level of success. And there's varying degrees in comedy, so it's hard to measure what it is. It's really based on what you think is successful. Some people just touring in general is their version of success, and some people want to be Kevin Hart. So
Right.
you strive to be whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. So yeah, now I work. I'm at a point now where I don't have to ask for too many gigs, you know what I'm saying? And, I don't have to reach out, but I still have to stay relevant. So rather, even if I'm not asking formally, I'm still performing to get booked. So I'll do shows in places where I want to perform, like open mics in cities that I would want to perform in hopes that another producer might see me and add me to the show. Or always trying to put myself in a position to meet influential people and do my best and just be ready so that I can get booked. So whether you're like verbally asking for something or not, your grind is essentially still the same. You're always looking and seeking for different opportunities. So
Yeah, man, that how I think this will be a good piece of advice to like how do you approach a booker or a producer and like what are some like definitely don't do this kind of things, but here's maybe like a couple things you should do.
yeah, I would say don't bother them. Like don't keep pressing the issue. Hey, when you gonna book me, man? Things like that. And as a booker myself, I do run a show here in Columbia. Like yeah, like I, there's only 12 months in a year. We only do one show a month. There are thousands of comedians. There's no way like I'm going to always be able to put you on when you want to get on. And then I'm also there for the business of making a profit. So if you don't fit what I'm doing, it's not because I don't think you're funny. It just might be because it just doesn't fit that specific show. And if I can find a show that I could put you on, then and I'll do that. Like I have friends that do a different brand of comedy than I do. I'll just make a show for them. You know what I'm saying? If I have to, if I think you're that talented, then I just do a show specifically highlighting their skill set and their audience and bringing my audience to it or whomever buys tickets and I'll market it that way. So it's never necessarily about the funny all the time. It's really sometimes just about, making the show the best show that it could possibly be. So I would say don't bug bookers about, being on a show. Perform, do your best. And, normally that should take care of itself. But there are times you're like, hey, can I do a guest spot? If you do well on a guest spot, then, that
Right.
spot could turn into another opportunity down the line. And if not, like I'm the type of person like if I see somebody that I think is funny, like I'm telling everybody about. I'm not somebody that feels that somebody else's talent is something that I need to feel some kind of way about. Like I'm literally like, hey, have you seen such and such? Like this dude is funny or this girl is funny. Like you need to definitely look at her or whatnot. Keep an eye out for her or keep an eye out for him. I'm always doing that. I try my best to kind of do it. And I may not even tell the comedian that I'm doing that because that's not, something that I feel like I need to do. But
Right.
uh, definitely always plug in different talent, as best I possibly can.
That's sort of a different mentality though, because I in the comedy world, you have the famine mindset, right? Where it's like, if you getting on a mic and getting time and I'm not, well, that means you're getting something I'm not. So like it becomes super competitive and like
Mhm.
I need to do what I can then to like cut other people down and like get that mic time myself. And then when money's involved and lodging's involved and like all these other
Mhm.
add-ons, it becomes really, it can become really competitive and cutthroat.
Yeah, definitely. And I see that, I'm always aware that there are people competing for the spots that I get. I mean, I definitely see, like, anytime I post something where I'm going to be, eventually I'm going to see somebody that I know poaching at that same opportunity to some
Mm,
extent.
right.
I mean, I can't control that. I don't, I don't, I don't really care. I try. I've learned not to.
Yeah.
Um, at the end of the day, like I said, like, comedy is subjective, and not only that, you don't want one comedian to dominate everything. So
Right.
you want that variety. You want people to be able to get their opportunities, because if they don't get their opportunities, you won't get your opportunities.
Right.
Uh, and in any on any platform for that matter, there's room for a lot of people, not just one comedian. So yeah, I've learned to just not even pay a lot of that stuff. I'm in competition with myself. The person
Right.
that I
Right.
have to, yeah, the person that I have to impress, the person that I have to beat is always my last best performance.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, that's great. I was wondering as you were talking there, you mentioned working with the homeless or unhoused veterans, or whatever the language is. It keeps changing,
mhm.
unhomed, unhoused. So not trying to be disrespectful there, but
Oh no,
the
yeah,
language.
I struggle with it too. I always just say homeless just because it's way easier. But when I get to work, I have to change. It's just like unhoused, sheltered, unsheltered.
I heard a
So I
comedian
get
recently say about that. This comedian was like, I'm pretty sure that their biggest concern is not branding. Um,
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, no. It wasn't important.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I would imagine, dude, that going into tough situations like that, being a comedian, like, you know how to use humor to disarm, right? And how to like break into a conversation,
Mhm.
I'm wondering, like, you find yourself joking with these veterans a lot, like, and how does humor help you in that?
I don't know. Like, I'm way more serious than anything. Like, it's almost like my comedian personality is a version of me, but it is
Right.
definitely not. Like, if you ask my girlfriend, she'll definitely be like, I don't even understand how he's a comedian. Like, he's just always so serious. Like, like, so yeah, I don't even think like I don't even think about comedy in that respect when I'm around, people that I
That's
work with. There's times when, like, now around the office, yes. Like, around the office, I'm always joking and making people laugh. But when I start talking with with the clients and people that I serve, I'm usually not that funny.
mm,
At the position that I'm in right now, a lot of my conversations are with landlords. Like, so my job description at this point is basically I'm a liaison for landlords. So I recruit landlords to provide opportunities to house veterans.
wow.
I'm talking to them about the program, how it could benefit them financially, but then how it can benefit them, on a different level, as far as helping out somebody that's in need. And so I'm recruiting them, explaining the different nuances of things. Now, that part definitely helps me out in comedy, whereas I'm speaking every day. So
Right.
I'm having to change conversations, and then different scenarios do pop up in my head. I don't use my job in comedy that much.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a few things that I'm working on, when as far as that's concerned. But because I have some stories, I
Yeah,
just
I'm sure
gotta
you
make
do.
sure that I got it perfect before I say it, because I don't want to say the wrong thing, and then my job is like, okay, all right, that's enough, that's enough.
Right,
But
right, right.
yeah, I'm very careful about that. But there are some stories that will blow your mind. Like, it is hilarious, but it probably is not hilarious to the person involved. But as a comedian, I definitely see it from a different lens. So yeah.
Good stuff. As a professor, I've been a pastor for a long. I'm not right now, but I have been
Mhm.
a while, and I spice jokes in, but I'm kind of a serious preacher, so I can relate to what you're saying. It's almost a little bit like a switch flips. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm,
and it sounds similar in your circumstance. Like the version of me you get on the stage, it's still me for real, but
mhm.
I don't just go through life bringing that kind of energy or like I don't know whatever every day. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely somewhat of a switch because, like, if you don't, I mean, you probably noticed when I met you, I didn't say much to anybody other than Oscar because he was annoying me. Or he was like he was one of the only person. I knew a few people there, but I knew he and I had done a few shows together prior to. And then he was like, from the moment he met me, he was like, "You suck," you know. I hate you. I can't stand you. I hate when you sing. I can't stand you. Get on my nerve. So I already expected him to be in my ear the whole times. Other than that, I would not have said anything to anyone, even the people that I knew. There's a few people that I'm close with. Mo Dixon. I do his flyers. But I wasn't going to talk to him because number one, I knew he was probably going to win. Two, because it was just like it's a competition. And I'm just pretty much reserved anyways. I'm just always, for the most part, to myself. And that's who I am as just in general as a person. Comedy has taken me out of my shell where networking is important. So I force myself to collaborate, communicate, and talk to people. But if you just catch me like before a show or just in general, I'll just be sitting by myself, not saying nothing,
Oh,
observing, laughing at whoever's performing, and not really saying much of anything. So yeah, it is definitely a switch. When I get on stage, I'm like, bam, I gotta turn this on.
that's fascinating, dude. Well, man, for those of you watching, this has been fun. This is only part one, though. I want you to head over to that website I showed you earlier. It's comediantlink.com, comediantlink.com. From there, you can find socials and he's got a phone number up there. You can prank call him. Hopefully, you can book him and see where he's performing. Dude, Travis, thanks so much, man, for coming on
No
to.
problem, man. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you
Yeah,
for having me.
this is a blast. Great advice for comedians as well. Those thinking about it or newer comedians. And after you guys head over to comediantlink.com, head over to michaelhalcom.live, subscribe there, the podcast, all the things, socials. But make sure you come back and find episode 2, part 2 of our discussion. Travis going to bring a joke or a premise or something like that. We're going to hear it. And we'll also try to make up some jokes on the spot, which is always fun to do with
Yeah.
comedians. So yeah, check back in for that. But man, Travis, you got anything else you want to point us to before we wrap up this episode?
Yeah, definitely. I do run a show every month at the Babylon Kino here in Columbia, South Carolina. We're always looking for local and touring acts that are in the area. If you ever find yourself close to Columbia, man, hit me up on that number. And let me know you're here, and then we'll try to see if we can get you a spot if the dates fit. And a lot of people, like you said, prank calls. I get prank calls. I've even had a bill collector called me on that number and was like, "Hey, is this comedian T Link, Travis Lincoln?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "This is an attempt to collect a debt." And I'm like, "Bye." Like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not
Oh,
what you think.
man. Well, yeah. So, guys, take that advice. That's a great opportunity there. If you're in Columbia, South Carolina area, South Carolina in general, hit Travis up and it'd be great for you. But, dude, thanks for coming on. And to everybody out there, thanks for watching, listening. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to stop there for part one and say we hope that helps.
It's all messed up, yeah. Everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just